Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of The Three Wise Men. I have Sid and Arvind with me, as always. And without any delay, let's get right to what was an exciting week and weekend of football in the Premier League. Right off the bat, let's begin with Tottenham and their humbling of Arsenal at the North London derby, possibly the last one at White Hart Lane as we know it now. Sid, you said Spurs just seemed on a different level altogether compared to Arsenal. Uh, what were your thoughts on the game? What excited you the most about how Spurs performed?
They did seem on a different level. It just seemed like Spurs wanted it more on the day, and why not? I mean, it was the last North London derby at White Hart Lane, and what an atmosphere we had. And the Spurs player turned up big time. I mean, if there was a North London derby to be seen, this was the best one ever. I think the main reason they clicked on the day was their um, formation. Pochettino had messed up with 3-4-3, playing Son Heung-min as the left wing back in the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea, which is where they suffered. But he turned back to his conventional left backs and right backs, and no problems at all. I think the midfielders owned the Arsenal midfield, and as usual, Eriksen, Dele Alli, Harry Kane are just on another level this season. So, all in all, a beautiful game.
I really want to point out one thing you said, and that was the tactics. I mean, you have to hand it to Pochettino. He was a little bit naive, I think, when he tried to fit in Heung-min Song in a formation in a position that didn't really suit him against Chelsea at the in the FA Cup. But other than Son, I want to point out to Christian Eriksen. He's probably going to be their player of the year, and I really feel he should have been one of the candidates for the player of the year in the league itself. Uh, so Arvind, between Ericsson and you know and the other midfielders, other creative midfielders in the league, do you think he's on a higher level right now than what we see in the league?
Yeah, if you compare him to a like for like player like Fabregas or maybe a Juan Mata, the one thing that he does that the others may not be doing as much is he presses a lot, and that is one thing that distinguishes him. Offensively, he's been great. You know, those two passes to Dele Alli and Harry Kane in the FA Cup were just brilliant. And to just show that he has a different dimension to his game. Last midweek, he scored a beautiful goal. But there was so much more to Spurs than just Eriksen. And this is the first game where we can pick 4, 5, 6 Arsenal players who were not good. But like Sid said, Spurs were a different class, I think. And, this is a team that is so exciting to watch.
And it was the first time that, if you were to pick a combined North London team with Arsenal and Spurs, I don't think you could pick one Arsenal player in that team. It was so disappointing. Every one of them is just, I don't know if it's lack of confidence or what it is, but none of them were, Premier League quality on that day.
We'll get to Arsenal in a little bit. We have touched on Arsenal a lot over our podcast, and we'll do so a little later as well. But there was a stat that Arvind shared with us offline, and if you looked at the points collected by Premier League teams over the last 2 seasons, uh, Spurs are comfortably on top. Yet they haven't won anything in those 2 seasons. Not yet. Uh, what do you think is lacking? What do they need to get over that finish line? They had a wonderful chance against a recently humbled Chelsea at the FA Cup, and they sort of let it slip away. But we've seen how good they can be. What do you think? What is missing, Sid, in that team to take it to the next level?
I think just that magician in the team, and someone like an Alexis Sanchez, I think that's all they're missing. We can go on and on about them having the maximum number of points for the past 2 years, and I heard a good discussion last week on BT Sports where they said that if Spurs go on like this for the next 10 years, no one's going to remember Alderweireld or Vertonghen or the other players because they didn't win anything. I mean, we remember the likes of Carragher and Ferdinand because they and Terry because they won trophies. We don't remember Ledley King because he was a great defender, but he didn't win anything. So Spurs have to now start winning. And I think someone like Sanchez or uh, he could be the difference. And right now, I think players would prefer to go to Spurs rather than Arsenal if they were to choose a London team.
That is very true. I mean, if you were a player and you had the proposition of joining Spurs versus Arsenal in the current situation, you would think twice, right? But I wanna point towards Pochettino for a little bit here, and I want your opinions on this, Arvind. He's a great manager. Like the work he done with Southampton and now with Spurs, he's built like a young, creative, exciting team. But when it came to like the crunch games, and when I say crunch games, the two Chelsea games come to mind. The one that happened last season where they had to beat Chelsea to stay in the title race, and they were even leading, and the one against Chelsea again in the semi-finals where it seemed that they would possibly exploit what Jose Mourinho showed the world, that you could control Chelsea team by controlling Hazard. Uh, what do you think Pochettino is lacking right now? Is it just experience? Is it just a little bit of that winning mentality he has to ingrain in himself and his team?
So first off, at this very moment of time, when Spurs have won 9 games in a row, 13 games in a row at home, and they've just humiliated an Arsenal team who have always got the better of them for the last 20 years, and for the first time they're finishing above. Before we get critical of what Spurs need to do, I would like to highlight that Pochettino has taken them to a different level after joining from Southampton. He has propelled them to genuine title contenders, and it's great that we're having a conversation that where what Spurs need to do to get to win the title is compared to finish top 4. Having said that, I think what they lack, and this could kind of be seen in the Chelsea Spurs game, was they can be better and they can still lose. And what Chelsea developed about 12 years ago when Mourinho joined them was that big game mentality where they win the games where they are second best, and that's something that Spurs are lacking now. It may be something that comes with time, but Pochettino has done a great job. They might even end up winning the title this year, and for all the neutrals out there, that would be amazing.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the banners that I saw at White Hart Lane. I mean, it was just amazing to see the Spurs supporters mock Arsenal by saying Saint Totteringham's Day this year is cancelled, and that is a rare sight. So that was great.
Yeah, great points, Arvind. But I really want to touch on something I was just thinking about. They've been in the Champions League for a couple of seasons now, right? They haven't done too well. They had a chance in the Europa as well, but they got knocked out. So I see what you're saying about Pochettino, being a great manager already, but no one will remember who came second in 96-97 season, right? It's all about winning. You would remember Chelsea winning the Europa League. You don't remember them coming third. So I think you touched on it. You need that winning mentality, but it also depends on the maturity of the manager. He has to know when to shut shop. I mean, you can't play the whole season or a whole important game the same way. You score a goal, that's what Mourinho did so well, and that's what these even Ferguson and these great managers do so well. They know how to kill a game, and I think that's what's missing with Pochettino right now.
And another thing is it's Arvind, we've been having a lot of discussions about how and what Chelsea should do and change, and I keep pointing out that it should start from Abramovich. Isn't it beautiful to see that Daniel Levy has completely changed the way Spurs function? I mean, you never associate Spurs with having a manager for 2, 3, 4 years. That's been the case. You never associate Spurs with having the youngest squad in the league, which they have. You never associate Spurs with having the best forward and midfielder and not selling them, which they do. and they're promoting youth from within. So I think big credit goes to Daniel Levy as well, along with Pochettino.
Yeah, you're right. And you especially have to look at the players that he had signed, right? All these players except for probably Dele Alli, who just burst on the scene last year. Uh, all these players that like Harry Kane came to the academy, but they stick with their young players, and
Right.
that's what's great about Tottenham. And
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 yeah,
to add to your point, Wanyama was purchased last summer for I believe 9 million, and the year Bale got sold, the one signing that was remarkable was Christian Eriksen for 12 million. And Daniel Levy really knows how to. How to get the maximum money for players he sells, and he should also be given credit for lengthening the contracts of all these youngsters who are the foundation of Spurs, for not that much of increase in the wage bill for Spurs.
And we all thought that Danny Rose and Kyle Walker are the wingbacks for the near future, and so beautifully and so quietly he's now played the last 4 or 5 games and kept 4 or 5 clean sheets with Wimmer on the right and Ben Davies on the left, and both of them
I
and
believe
both
it
of
was
them
who was that? Kieran Trippier rather.
Trippier, right?
Trippier,
yeah.
sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Trippier and Ben Davies, and both of them were sub 4 million or 5 million purchases. I think 3.5. They came as part of one of the deals. I forgot to.
So yeah,
Swansea.
Ben Davies came from Swansea, and
they were part of or one of them was part of the Sigurdsson deal. So I
Yeah.
mean, beautiful acquisitions.
yeah, and that's what's missing at most top clubs, right? Like, doesn't mean you shell out the money, but you need to have sort of a director of football or a great scouting network to be able to unearth these talents. But it's not just about unearthing; it's also about giving them a chance to play. Like Eriksen is taken 4 years to get to the level that he is right now. Harry Kane, slogged in the lower leagues before bursting on the scene a couple of seasons, and he's been like consistent ever since. So yeah, great credit to Spurs. I think they are like them and Southampton are like model clubs in the Premier League, and other clubs should understand it's not just about splashing the money. So Sid, you touched on Walker and Rose, and I want you to give me a small opinion about what you think. So Walker is one of the players that hasn't signed a long-term contract. Unlike Dyer and Kane and Eriksen and Dele Alli and whatnot. And it seems like Pochettino has been preferring Kieran Trippier on the right wing or right wing back for the last couple of games, and Walker had to contend with a place on the bench. What do you think? Do you think he should buckle down, try to get his spot back, or do you think his mind would be turned by greener pastures now?
Yeah, ideally he should try his best. I mean, he is the first choice right back for Spurs and England. So, I mean, it won't be hard for him to regain his spot back. But I don't blame him for wanting to move on. I mean, not all of the Spurs squad might buy into Pochettino's philosophy and have the patience to wait it out for another 2, 3, 4 years to win a trophy. They've been there for 2, 3 years. They've been second. They've been good. They've been to the Champions League, but they haven't won anything. So, I mean, in today's world, with agents, humming around everywhere, we won't be surprised if there's already a pre-agreement or something with City who do want a right back and a quick one, and Walker fits checks all the boxes. So it looks like there's something between Pochettino and Walker, and I might be the Man City interest that's causing him to bench Walker.
Possibly. There are rumors that Man City and Guardiola want both Walker and Danny Rose. So they don't have a left back, they don't have a right back. It just makes sense. But let's see how that story develops.
It'll turn out to be the most expensive back four with John Stones already costing 50
and Otamendi as well. Okay. So I want to bring in Arvind at this point. And Arvind, you had a special mention of Wanyama earlier. So when you think of central defensive midfielders, right? You think of Casemiro, you think of Sergio Busquets, you think of Arturo Vidal. Do you think Wanyama can be one of those names in the near future? He's been really good for Spurs this season, but do you think there's something missing in his game, or do you think he's there and it's all about being consistently performing at that level?
I think his performance against Arsenal was amazing. He not only broke up attacks, but he started the attacks for Spurs as well. And we didn't see that on 1-2 occasions. That was on multiple occasions. And if this was a sign of things to come, then he can definitely get to the heights of Busquets or someone like a Herrera has been this year for United.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the losing side from the North London derby. Our favorite team, the Arsenal. Sid, what's going on? I mean, we've touched on it like a million times in our other episodes, but there seems to be no fight, no desire, no fight for the badge. The new formation that seemed to work against City was absolutely ripped to shreds. What do you think went totally wrong at White Hart Lane?
Yeah, we've spoken about this at length, and I don't know if it's just players giving up on the manager or giving up on the season. If they have to play for the badge, if not anything else, and no one's apparently interested. If I was to, I can't point out one thing. You touched on the formation. I mean, he played the 3-4-3 again. What I noticed was that Nacho Monreal was the left centre back and Gibbs was the left wing back. I don't know why he did that when in the FA Cup Rob Holding did an amazing job at centre back and Monreal was, who's been amazing at the wing back role. I don't know why he played around with that. But even up front, I mean, most of the success that Arsenal had initially in this season, before the new year, I guess, was with Alexis Sanchez playing up front. I don't know why he's not trying that. He's continuing to play Giroud or Welbeck or the others in the center, and Sanchez is coming in from the left, and he's not being effective. And I have no idea why he's not interested in switching the players around, up front. And lastly, I think now it's really showing that they're missing someone like a Santi Cazorla big time. I mean, they lack that creative spark. Ozil, he's not interested in playing football. I mean, I don't know how a player can go on strike and ask for a 300,000 a week wage when he doesn't move on the field. And I said this before. I mean, it's just all the players just pussyfooting around on the field and no one's interested.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things, and I was going to ask Arvind, but I'll still ask him. He played Oxlade-Chamberlain right wing back. When you have Hector Bellerin, who's defensively decent, but attacking wise, he's got that amazing pace to beat anyone one-on-one. And especially when you had someone like Ben Davis opposite to you, who's not quick, particularly quick. Was this on manager's head? Is this on Arsene Wenger's head again for the formation, the personnel, the whole game plan?
Well, Oxlade was great against City. So, from Wenger's point of view, it's okay to trust him again on that right wing back role. But there were two things that Oxlade did that was glaringly, incorrect and showed his defensive frailties. There was one ball from Wanyama that went out to the left that, Walker just charged, even though he saw that he was second to it, and Harry Kane could just take it away, and then, Oxlade was just off of the game. It's things like that, and the first goal going in with his right leg when he could have been a clearance with his left leg. It just shows defensive frailties that you can't try at the business end of the of the season. If this was the fourth or the fifth game where Arsenal could take a loss, that would still make sense. But yeah, that was poor. It was not only him, like Sid said, Ozil and Monreal and Gibbs and Xhaka, and there were so many names. You could take Giroud. These guys just seem like a mediocre team right now who need some fresh impetus.
Yeah, and we always talk about Wenger trying to not sign the best players. He tries to buy the unknowns and hopes that they'll turn out good. Same is the case with Xhaka. I mean, he was touted to be one of the best CDMs, but he's been one of the most inconsistent and hot-headed CDMs we've ever had in the Premier League, and he's not had a good season at all. So yeah, I mean, signings are a big concern for them as well. And going ahead, I mean, I'm worried for Arsenal because as we spoke, players wouldn't want to go to Arsenal now. There's 5 clubs ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's what do you say now? Race for the top 4 is getting farther and farther away from them. Talking about the top 4 or the race for it or the lack of race for it, to be honest. United and City had a great chance to both skip Liverpool and make a foothold in the top 4, and both spectacularly failed at it. Let's start with United. Sid, what is the struggle with home? Why is there homesickness but at home now for United? At Old Trafford?
I'm literally blank right now. I don't know what to say. It's been sad that we had 2 chances, the game against City and the game against Swansea, that we could leapfrog City and be 4th. But it's almost like we'd be playing with each other and telling each other that you can be ahead of ahead of me. You can be. No one wants to go 4th. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what's wrong at home. I mean, one of the main requirements for any club to be successful is to make their home a fortress, which we haven't done at all in this season. And we were lucky to get away with a point. Injuries haven't helped us. I mean, under Van Gaal we suffered with the injury list, and we're back to square one. We don't have any players available. Every game we're going in with a new back, a new centre back partnership. We're going in with new right backs and left backs. We're going in with a new CDM. We're going in with a new strike force. Nothing is consistent. So I mean, yeah, honestly, we'll be very lucky if we get into the top 4 through the Premier League with the depleted squad that we have right now.
Yeah, it just seems Mourinho has been. It just looks like Mourinho has been prioritizing the Europa League, where he has to win 3 games. But before this weekend, he would have had to win like 5 games, 3 of them really difficult away trips at the Emirates, the White Hart Lane, and Southampton. So
yeah,
by
the way, we have the longest unbeaten run in United's history. I think I don't know what that counts
in the Premier League. Right?
Yeah, I don't know what that counts for right now, but that's the
Nothing.
that's the only positive if anyone want to take out one, which doesn't matter right now.
Yeah, the only thing that the unbeaten run shows that we are difficult to beat, if anything. It doesn't show any, if we can win, which we are not at the moment. But yeah, just to expand on what you said, it's just fatigue and accumulation of these games is biting United in the back now. When you go into a game and you finish the game with your only fit centre back being injured, and your back 4 consisting of a converted right winger, left back essentially at centre back, a right back at centre back, and Ashley Young at left back. So
yeah, I had a question for you guys, and maybe Arvind can answer it. I saw Monday Night Football, and Jamie Carragher pointed out the fact that Pogba and Ibrahimovic have the most number of minutes, but they're followed by most of the Spurs player who are up there as far as number of minutes are played, number of minutes played are concerned. So it's not that we've played 10 times more than the other players. And another point that he made was that going into a season, all I want to do if I'm in Europe is to play 50 games. So what's wrong? Why is everyone going down like 9 pins? I mean, Mourinho made a statement where he said that we can't go from bed to toilet without breaking a leg right now. Why is that happening?
I think the injuries are unfortunate, but I don't think fatigue is the sole reason for it. And we've heard Mourinho complain a little bit about the fixture list. It's, I mean, this might sound rude or offensive, but it is something that was expected before the season started. I mean, everyone knew that United are going to be in Europe, and if United are expected to be successful, then being in Europe and in the other competitions, they're expected to play about 60 games. The other thing is, so from that perspective, and they even had a bigger squad. So from that perspective, I don't think blaming the games is correct. And also, you pointed out the comparison with Spurs. Spurs have played, I believe, 7 games in April, whereas United have done 9. But United had about three or two people who played all of the games. Whereas so the amount of minutes, like Sid said, if you count that with Spurs pressing as high up as they have consistently, they probably ran more minutes as well and more distances.
That's true,
and
but again, I mean, you can't really discount fatigue, absolutely. But like if you look at it, uh, fatigue plays an important role, and I understand what you're saying from Mourinho maybe trying to make excuses, but he had a very good point. Like, what if we had beaten Chelsea, then we would have had to play 10 games in April. That is 10 games with back to back with 3-day breaks, which is almost humanly impossible. I mean, the human body, breaks down. It needs rest. But I think Mourinho is a little bit to blame for it because of his lack of rotation. Uh, I mean, you guys can correct me if you want, but he never rotated Ibrahimovic as much as he should have. And probably, if Ibra had the rest that he had, he probably would have been much more effective in front of goal than he has been already this season.
yeah, you bring up a great point, and anyone could have predicted that the next move that Bailly is gonna make, he's gonna pull up his hamstring. Exactly what happened. Like, just overrunning himself, overworking his body, and after he's played every minute since he came back from the African Cup of Nations. He's played Pogba every minute, whether it's Europe or Premier League. I mean, he could have prevented those 2 injuries at least from what I see. And looks like Luke Shaw is out with a ligament tear as well. I mean, everyone's chosen the end of April and May to have their ligaments torn. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but it's just unfortunate. The fixture list was pretty packed, and these injuries aren't helping. But there are some that you can't help. Like, you can't predict what ligament tears, or busting both your ACL and your PCL in terms of for Ibrahimovic, or Marcos Rojo tearing his ligament. Those are not fatigue injuries. Those are just impact instant injuries, and it's just unfortunate.
True.
That's all coming up at the same time. It just seems like United want to do it the hardest way possible.
Yeah, the other
And
positive.
to
Sorry,
to
go
add
ahead.
to your
Arun.
question, to add to your question real quick. Again, it was you speak about the fixture list being humanly impossible. What do you think can change? Let's say United were in the FA Cup final as well right now. What do you think can change to help United and give them more rest?
At this point, nothing would have helped. That's what Mourinho's question was. That he played Burnley the weekend that they were the FA Cup semis, right? Like, where would he have played Burnley then? Because he's already playing 9 games in the next 4 weeks. Would he have played it after that? Would he have played it like in pre-season? Was his joke? But it's difficult. Maybe, I don't know, fixture organization, there could be something. And Sid pointed out during the previous podcast where England have 2 cup championship, or cup runs, essentially, the FA Cup and the EFL. So it's a mixture of both. It's just, if you get to the final of all, it's like 65-70 games, which could be organized better. But If you are a top club and you want to be competing for each trophy, then it's something that comes along.
Yeah, just to finish up on this, I think even if we do manage to get to the end of the Europa League, the last week is going to be almost impossible. I think we have Southampton, Crystal Palace, and if we get to the final of the Europa League all in 1 week from the 17th to the 24th, I think. So
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard, but as long as we're in the Europa League, I'm just going to take solace from the fact that we're the only English team in Europe. So let's just carry the flag, flag for now.
Yeah, Mourinho also said that we might even play the under-23 side with Nicky Butt. But moving on from the depression of United to the cheerful depression of City now. Them too, they were playing relegation fodder Middlesbrough and they succeeded in drawing them. This would be Guardiola's first season as a manager where he hasn't won any silverware. Despite if he ends up in like the top 4 or top 3, Arvind, do you reckon this has been a failure for him?
Absolutely, and there's no two ways to put it. We very similar to some of the other people we've criticized. I think it's correct to criticize Guardiola because he came in with lofty expectations and he spent 150-160 million changing a team. And if you are going to come in playing a certain type of football and if it doesn't work, then you should be criticized for it. And we can look no further than there have been multiple cases, probably the Arsenal game last weekend against in the FA Cup, or even the Chelsea game where you have a 1-0 lead and then you still have Acosta with an Otamendi one-on-one in the box. I mean, it's just so much dedication to a way of playing, and then he complains about not having control over a game. So it's things. I'm sure it's a great learning experience for him, and we might expect more from City and to expect them to be more competitive next year. But this year has been poor, and it's his first season as a manager without a trophy.
Yeah. So now you have been a great proponent of hating Otamendi and Stones and anyone that essentially wears the City shirt. And I want to talk about a little bit about what happened during the City game as well as United game, where these two amazingly gifted attackers they try to win their respective sides a penalty each. Rashford in the case of United and Sane in the case of City. Is that something? I mean, we've seen that having plagued the Premier League for years and years now, for countless seasons. Do you think retrospective bans are something that should be looked at, or do you think it's just part and parcel of the game and we should just move on?
Well, firstly, just to quickly finish up on the last point, I think more than Guardiola and him this season being a failure for him, I don't know if you guys are aware of these two guys, Fernando Soriano and Chicky Burstein. I think the director of football and the other guy is
something important.
Yeah, I think they are the ones who were first brought on board as far as the project is concerned, and they're the ones who were actually after Guardiola for the last 2-3 years, and they convinced him to come here. So I think more than Guardiola, the pressure is on them as far as pressure from the City board is concerned. So it'll be a crucial summer for them collectively. Coming back to the diving incidents that you mentioned over the weekend, I think it's a shame that it happens. Retrospective bans is one way of handling it, but that won't prevent it happening on the day. I mean, it's still, if someone's going to dive, he's going to dive. And, if that, let's say, helps, the team win on the day and the player gets banned for 2 games, it's not really preventing it. I saw a discussion, I was listening to a discussion, I forgot where, I think it was ESPN FC, where they suggested that video technology is the way to go. We've spoken at length, I think, in one of our podcasts about how it can help as far as penalty decisions. We already have goal line decision systems. If somehow FIFA can have trials for video technology for different incidents that can be reviewed. I think diving is one of them. If penalties can be avoided, I mean, they are make or break decisions. I mean, if going ahead, this point can be very crucial for United or City, and both of them got it because of dubious penalty decisions. So I think video technology is the answer to this. I don't think it can be prevented. I mean, if a player, it's a shame that a player wants to do it at that split second, but you can't stop the player.
Yeah, but I want to bring Arvind then. Does it also require the referees to be more accountable for their decisions? Because we have seen so many decisions as well where a goal was wrongly given maybe, or a yellow card that should not have been showed, or a red card that should not have been shown has been showed, but the referees themselves have no one to account to. Kind of gives them the power. Do you think if you include video technology to rectify these decisions, do you think also the FA and the governing body should look at the referees themselves and have some sort of accountability there?
I'm going to take the non-popularistic way out here and say that I think the referees have a hard enough job already, and they seem like an easy scapegoat for a lot of people to blame when things don't go their way. But I personally right now I don't like video technology just because I feel the game that we see on TV will be much more different than the game that we play every day or every evening. But back to the retrospective ban, the Scottish FA came out with a rule I think earlier this year that said 6 games banned if someone dives and gets a penalty. While that's retrospective, if you think of 6 games, that's about a month and a half of Premier League football that someone would miss, and I think that's a big enough deterrent to stop someone from diving. While that's a major part of a season, so that seems like a good idea.
Arvind, I disagree with you on the fact that you can't blame it. The referees already have a tough job. Agreed, but if you saw the referee's comments post match, it turns out he guessed the Rashford decision, and being a referee, that is the last thing you want to do is guess a decision. So, I mean, as Shannon mentioned, somewhere the referees have to be held accountable. I mean, that is their job. That is their only job. I mean, in the Champions League, you have 2 extra referees, even if it takes, some amount of investment from the FA, and they can have 2 more referees, standing by the post or on the goal line. That way, they're not using video technology, but at least they have, 2 more eyes each side in the box for such decisions. So that might be a way.
Yeah, just
True, and that could be a good alternative. Go ahead, Shannon.
no, just a personal opinion. I think those 2 referees are like the worst thing that has happened to football ever. They are there for cosmetic reasons. I haven't seen them give one decision, but that's just me. But yeah, Arvind, go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think with the amount of scrutiny or, with videos being available, I'm not sure what the Referees Association are doing. But I remember recently there was a meeting with all the managers as well. With Howard Webb giving us insights at Sky Sports, I'm sure there is a way for them to be critical of themselves and improve. It's just it doesn't get highlighted as much. Maybe we can have a referee's press conference at the end of every game to get their thoughts as well.
No, that's gonna be that's gonna be reporters throwing eggs at them. But I mean, again, isn't it a shame that football, being one of the biggest sports, is still not using video technology? I mean, Alan Pardew on Monday was on Monday Night Football, and he spoke at length about how rugby has successfully started to use video technology, and rugby is a continuous sort of moving sport, unlike American football. So, I mean, I don't understand why FIFA can't try it out in something like MLS. Why not? Like, there's nothing stopping them from experimenting, and they're still the last ones, or they've still not started to use it, so they're the last ones if they start to use it.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read somewhere that the Belgian league might be implementing it from the next season or the season after. So that's a start. I mean, there'll be always people for the pro and against video technology. I think it'll be really useful, um, in certain decisions where the game is not stopped. Right. For example, the penalty decision, the referee's already stopped the game, and then he can call it, whether it's an actual penalty or book the player for diving, and same thing with corner kicks and things that actually stop the gameplay. So I think there is scope for video technology. Let's see where the big wigs in FIFA and UEFA try to implement them. And moving on to Arvind's favorite topic of the pod, talking about his beloved Chelsea. Just seemed like another professional clinical performance from Chelsea, brushing away what was an informed Everton side. Arvind, what were your thoughts? I mean, you probably have quite a few of them.
I enjoyed the first half where Chelsea were very compact and very threatening on the break, and Everton just had possession in their own half, and it was great to see that. A couple of thoughts. Cahill has now scored 8 goals in the Premier League, which is amazing. I mean, Pedro has scored 9 and he's in the top 20. And that Pedro goal was just something different, right? Hazard was man marked again, and it's he wasn't as effective, but that created spaces for others, and it's something. Messi has been man marked as well, and if Hazard wants to go to that next level, he needs to learn to deal with it. Maybe he needs to go to left back like Eric Cantona. But the last thing I want to add about this game is, and to give you some context, there was once Eric Cantona was man marked, and after 9 minutes he went to left back and he looked at his man marker and he was like, "Now what are you going to do?" And it was just amazing. It just showed Eric Cantona's brilliance. But the last thing I want to add about the Chelsea game was the way they control the game when they're ahead. And this is slightly different from how Chelsea won the league 2 years back, where they got on Mikel for someone like a Fabregas or an Oscar to shut out games. Now Chelsea actually get on Fabregas and keep the possession in the opposite half, and use his creative brilliance to complete games by maybe scoring an extra goal. It's happened a couple of times, happened against Arsenal as well, and it's great to see the positivity and the consistency in closing out games. 4 more games to go for Chelsea. There's still a tough West Brom game away, but it certainly feels like Chelsea are odds-on favorite to win this.
Yeah, the only point I want to make is, as Arvind mentioned, Hazard was man-marked. And I called it after the United game that other teams should, follow suit and man-mark Hazard. It's so easy to nullify him if you man-mark him. And I don't know why Spurs didn't do that when they had the personnel, like, someone like an Eric Dyer who could have done that in the FA Cup semi-final. I mean, Hazard was very ineffective with Idrissa Gueye following him all over the pitch, just like Herrera. And it was beautiful to see the other players turn up, even when Hazard wasn't on song.
Just to finish up real quick, I think Herrera was in a different level as compared to Gueye. And Hazard did manage to create spaces for some of the other folks. But yeah, like you said, Hazard was ineffective, and that's something he needs to work on to rectify going forward.
And on the flip side, that's something the other team can take note from, and man mark him, because he is the key. He is the key man.
Yeah. Just to add to what you guys said, I thought Everton were pretty decent. I thought that their tactics made sense. I think they began the second half a little on the stronger side. And Lukaku giving problems to the defense with his physicality, with his pace. But it just, all great teams have these magic moments, right? Like Chelsea could have easily stumbled to a 0-0 draw, wouldn't have done them any harm. But Pedro out of nowhere scores that really wonderful goal, and from there on it was all Chelsea. But I guess that's the characteristics of champion teams, and Chelsea does it not suddenly, but definitely this season have been the champion team in the Premier League. Arvind, what did you think of Lukaku? Possibly his last game against Chelsea before hypothetically joining Chelsea again.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of possibilities over the summer, but I didn't think he was great. I saw some post game analysis which showed two or three occasions where a slightly better ball would have helped, but he seems too nice, and he needs to use that physicality a little more, and he needs to be better off the ball. Off the ball runs definitely need to improve. So again, it's one of those where he's been good so far, but he struggles against the top six teams, and yeah, when you go to the big stage. When you're going to play the likes of a Real Madrid in the Champions League, is this the level of performance he's going to give?
Yeah, Sid, do you think Lukaku is ready for a team in the Champions League?
Yeah, I mean, great point by Arvind, but the only way he can get to that next level is by playing for a top 4 or 6 team at the biggest stage. I mean, even if Chelsea keep Costa and they get Lukaku, it would help Lukaku if even he can play, even in half of the European games that Chelsea have. So I think he needs to move to one of the bigger teams and play at the bigger stage for him to improve his other aspects of the game. You're not gonna get a 100% perfect player from one of the lower teams. Not that I'm not saying that Everton's a bad team, but consider someone like a Dele Alli. You didn't get a finished product. He proved himself while playing at the highest level. So I think he does need to make the move.
All right. Finishing up on with the Champions League, Ronaldo masterclass in the Madrid derby. Do you think this is it? Do you think Madrid will be the first team to retain the Champions League trophy this season?
The teams on the other side are both Monaco and Juventus are very strong, but we've said there's not enough good things you can say about Ronaldo. But if I might just point out the transition from a Sporting Lisbon winger to now an out and out forward who spends relatively less time on the ball but is so clinical inside the box. It's some transition. And what a player! What an amazing player!
Yeah, just some amazing stats that threw me off today. I think he has 100 or more Champions League goals,
103 today.
which are more than the combined Atletico team that they've scored in the Champions League. And as the commentator pointed out on Fox Sports, players are lucky to have 42 goals in their career. That dude has 42 hat tricks for I think Madrid, or
Real Madrid.
that is just amazing. And as Arvind pointed out, I mean, from being a winger to just going to a number 9 and being the deal. I mean, he's amazing, and as we've gone on in the past, you can't compare him and Messi. I think they're two different players, and they're two amazing players, and I don't see any reason why they can't retain the Champions League. I honestly feel Juventus, if they do get through, will give them a tough fight, but I think now Madrid are the odds-on favorites. It was sad to see Atletico not turning up on the day, just like a deflated Arsenal performance. I mean, it was one of those, like, none of them were just interested in playing today.
Yeah, it was. Another stat to blow your mind. Thierry Henry has 50 Champions League goals, and as of today, Cristiano Ronaldo has more goals just in the knockout stages than Thierry Henry. So just to think about that. But I hope Atletico is up for it in the return leg. It's going to be some some fight. At least they would want to go out on a high at the Calderon. But yeah, go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, I mean, again, more than we can always point fingers at Ronaldo and say he's carrying the team. Don't you guys think most of the credit should go to Zinedine Zidane? I mean, he was a nobody as far as the coach is concerned coming into this season, and what a great job he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, but to give him credit, he'd spent time with the Real Madrid B team. He coached them for, I think, a little over a year, maybe 2 years. That gave him a little bit of coaching experience, but it was definitely a gamble from Florentino Perez to make him the full-time manager. And boy, didn't he deliver the Champions League in his first season? And now they are on the verge of a second consecutive final. And if and with I think joint on top with a game in hand.
If Hey, if I may just quickly add to Zidane, if the Barcelona Madrid game when Benitez was the manager, Benitez started with all four of the attackers: Bale, James Rodriguez, Ronaldo, and Benzema, and he didn't have any defensive minded players. And the one thing that Zidane has done consistently is make Casemiro a regular starter, and that has reaped so much dividends for Madrid. So kudos to him for having the guts to do that at Madrid.
I saw a funny tweet today which said that don't be surprised if Perez actually sacks him at the end of the season if they don't win the Champions League. but yeah, jokes apart, he as Arvind mentioned, they look like a different team when Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro are playing in the middle of the midfield. But I think going into next season, the only improvement they would want to make, besides the supposed goalkeeper De Gea, would be the third forward. Bale has been very injury prone, and they've had to fill the shoes with James or Isco. Not that both of them are bad players, but I think Madrid would want to get the next Galactico in that position, and I honestly feel Hazard fits the bill really well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I was just gonna touch on Bale. Do you guys think this will finally be the summer where he comes back to England? He's always been linked every summer to be signed by either Chelsea or City, or mainly United, as Ryan Giggs' successor. But seeing what happened in the last couple of games, where he's either he's been removed at halftime, he's been injury prone, he's been benched, and likes of Isco and James doing decent, and as well as Asensio, their youngster, who's been in really good form. Do you think this will be the summer where Bale packs up and gets back to England?
He could fit into any team if he is fit, but yeah, it's one of those. I don't think he's proved himself as Madrid yet, just because he's been relatively injury prone, and he still has some unfinished business there. Madrid like to change things. They like to make Galactico signings. So, but they're known for not retaining the ones they already have. Look at Ozil and Di Maria. So it could happen given their recent past history. But I think Bale still has some unfinished business there.
Yeah, De Gea plus 40 million, and we get Bale.
All right. Finishing up on that thought of Bale probably running up and down the Old Trafford left wing. That's it from us tonight. These were the three wise men. Like, subscribe, give us your feedback, comment in the link below, and we will see you guys soon. Have a good night.